Hello everyone, it is World War Wednesday, I think. I hope at least. It depends when this video comes out. I started it on Wednesday, I don't know when this is going to be published. New Hearts of Iron 4 dev diary dropped today, or whenever this video does come out, and I just feel like covering it. I was thinking about doing this video last week as well, but last week's dev diary didn't exactly have enough schmeat on it to justify a whole video. So a quick recap for last week's, we're getting trains, lots of trains, but new week, new dev diary, and this week it is on Poland. Yes, Poland is getting reworked, and interestingly enough, everything covered in this week's DD is going to be in the free Barbarossa patch, and next week's dev diary is going to cover what elements are going to be a part of the yet unnamed paid DLC. I kind of figured that Poland was going to be reworked in this patch as soon as they announced it was going to focus on the Eastern Front. But I didn't think that we'd be hearing about it so soon after last week was just talking about trains. So, firstly, the dev diary showed off a nearly full focus tree for Poland, which appears to be a much expanded version of the United and Ready tree that's currently in the game. Interestingly, a large chunk of the tree is blacked out because that's going to be shown off in next week's tree. Though considering what is blacked out is mutually exclusive with the historical Polish political tree, I can guess that what is covered must be the options for cooperation with the Germans or Soviets. After that, it goes into detail about the industrial section of the focus tree, pretty standard stuff really, except some of the focuses just give temporary boosts to your economy instead of permanent bonuses or free factories. It makes sense as to why temporary bonuses to fort construction would be useful to Poland, considering it's on the clock to get ready for the German invasion, but I feel like those 70-day focuses just aren't going to be worth it really in the end. But we'll see when it comes out. Next is something considerably more interesting, which is the early game crisis for Poland, the peasant strike. A lot of people don't like the devs adding the early game crises to all of the nations that they've worked on since Man the Guns, but personally, I like it. I like that gives them something to do in the early years, and it gives every nation a little bit of flavor, a little bit of character that makes them more unique as opposed to every other nation. And for Poland, the peasant strike has to be handled or the nation will descend to a full-on peasant revolt. Hearing the name Polish Peasant Union makes me wonder if this is going to be another anarchist nation like over in Spain. However, I think it'll be easy enough to avoid that it's going to be really unlikely to see this peasant revolt happen in your games unless you yourself choose to fail to handle the situation. Technically, Poland has two early game crises, which other one being the free city of Danzig to worry about. Mecca, the content designer who wrote the dev diary, explained that Danzig was this really complicated situation during this time, effectively being both independent, a Polish protectorate, and a League of Nations city all at the same time. So instead of creating a new tag to start the game off for the free city of Danzig, they are choosing to represent it with a special modifier, the international city, on the state, so that it makes the manpower unusable, the factories unusable, and military movement is restricted by making a demilitarized zone. In the early game, Danzig will have to be dealt with one way or another to get control of the nation's economy, which is set to a unique trade law to Poland, the embargoed economy at the start of the game. Yeah, Danzig is not letting you have any trade come through its ports. Real dicks over in Danzig. Danzig can either be handled by force or by building a new port city within the Polish corridor, but failing to handle the crisis will lead to Danzig revolting and attempting to join with Germany. So hey, we do get a Danzig tag after all. In the military tree, there is an interesting mechanic where you can build forts and increase recruitment in either the German or Soviet sides of your nation, but once you start one branch of the tree, you have to finish that entire tree before you can do the other side. If these are all 70-day focuses, that would take a very long time to finish, so I doubt you'll be able to finish both or even one of these tree branches before war is declared, unless you have done nothing else but do these. So while they are interesting, they're probably going to be something to do either when the war is already engaged or as a desperate ploy to try and build up those forts. And finally, the dev diary ends off with a detailed look at the expanded political tree. Like I said, what is shown is mutually exclusive with whatever is hidden, so this appears to be just the historical allied path as well as some independent communist and fascist paths mixed in. Early on in the branching tree, you don't have to commit to a single path. You can take focuses from across the whole political spectrum, some of which I'm sure are going to work against each other. Personally, I both enjoy and kind of hate when trees do this kind of thing. When you learn what the focuses do, and you know how to synergize them accordingly, it can be a great experience. One of my favorite moments ever playing Hoi 4 was when I figured out how to become the Catholic communists in Mexico to avoid all the civil wars. I really felt like I had learned the mechanics, but when you don't know what everything does, when you're just thrown in there and you have no idea what you're doing, it is a confusing mess that just doesn't put you in the direction that you want to go. And I feel like it can very easily happen here with what I'm seeing, so I'm hopeful but also a little worried of how this is going to go. Once a dictator is chosen, the paths end in a few different alliances that can be formed. Choosing the historical path gives only the option to join the Allies and make friends with Lithuania and Romania, which, to be fair, it's the historical path, you don't get a lot of options. It makes sense, still a little lame. Choosing the Polish revanchism can give you the ability to attack your neighbors and restore the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, as well as bring about a, to quote, Polish-Czechoslovak Confederation, which I'm sure will end well. But choosing the Baltic security, the leftmost path, can create the Baltic Alliance, which will not only allow for alliances with the Baltic states, Romania and Czechoslovakia, but also early unlock the Between the Seas concept. Yes, the Midzimotzi, you know, that thing, the big meme that Poland always seems to do when you play with historical focuses off. Yes, that's becoming a new tree, which is unlocked when you become a major nation with at least 700,000 manpower in the field. It's been expanded to where you can invite most of your European neighbors and even Italy as potential alliances in the Midzimotzi, which I find that pretty memey. All in all, what I have seen in the new Polish tree is interesting to say the least. Pretty on par with the nations they put out with recent DLCs. Nothing shocking, but nothing disappointing either. What's more interesting is the fact that all of this is going to be in the free patch, so everyone, regardless of DLC, will be able to play it. Although it's probably going to be kind of awkward when someone who buys no DLC and just comes into the game for the first time sees that the most fleshed out nation in the game is Poland. That's going to be a weird experience, I'm sure. But we will find out what the devs have hiding in the DLC in next week's Dev Diary. Maybe we can even get a name so I can call it something other than just Barbarossa patch. Until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!